You've been helping people God never sent. And now, heaven is asking why. Not out of anger, but out of urgency, because your compassion is costing you something sacred, and in trying to rescue everyone, you're starting to drown. Is it love, or is it disobedience? Are you carrying a soul, or dragging a weight? Were they sent, or were they planted by the enemy to delay you? This is the sacred tension only chosen ones feel, the pull between mercy and mandate, the quiet war between kindness and calling. You see, not everyone in your life was placed there by God, and the longer you keep helping who heaven is trying to remove, the longer you'll delay what was written about you in the scroll. You felt it, didn't you? That whisper, that inner hesitation, the way your peace disappeared the moment you said yes, the way your spirit grieved, but your guilt said, help them anyway. But heaven doesn't speak through guilt. Heaven speaks through alignment. And right now, heaven is unsealing something in your spirit. This isn't just another teaching. This is a prophetic disruption. Because here, at Chosen One Sanctuary, we don't just inspire, we awaken. We don't entertain, we equip. And today, you're not just watching a video. You're stepping into a moment that's been circling your life for years. In Genesis 12, God gave Abram one command: leave your country, leave your people. But Abram brought Lot, and it wasn't until Lot left that the vision became clear. Sometimes the people we bring are the reason the vision is delayed. Sometimes the extra weight isn't evil, it's just misaligned. And in the kingdom, misalignment is just as dangerous as rebellion. Stay until the end of this message, because we're about to uncover the 7 types of people that God never asked you to help. And as each one is revealed, you will begin to understand why certain seasons never shifted, why your spirit has felt drained, delayed, or disconnected, and why this moment might be your divine release. This is not judgment, this is separation, this is not rejection, this is refinement, this is your scroll, unsealing, and everything is about to make sense. Divine discernment, the unrepentant. There are people you've cried for, people you've fasted for, people you fought hell for, and still they remain chained by their own choice. This is not ignorance. It is rebellion wrapped in comfort, and your help has become their hiding place. Scripture says in Proverbs 26:11, "As a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his foolishness." You didn't mishear God. You just refused to let go. There comes a point when mercy turns into disobedience, and what once was rescue becomes interference with heaven's discipline. You thought you were the bridge, but to them, you've become a cushion that softens the blow of consequence. God is not asking you to stop loving. He's asking you to stop enabling what He's trying to expose. Your ladder cannot save someone who's chosen to live in the pit. The more you pull, the deeper you sink. Some people are not looking for freedom. They're looking for company in their rebellion. And in the spirit, your rope is fraying. Soul entanglement, the manipulative. Some cries for help are not cries at all. They are hooks designed to pull you out of your assignment and into someone else's emotional prison. These are the ones who wield guilt like Scripture, twisting kindness into obligation and need into control. They call it love, but you can feel the heaviness. You say no, and suddenly you're the villain. You set a boundary, and they call you unchristian. But remember this: Jesus never allowed Himself to be ruled by the emotions of others. In Luke 4, when the crowds begged Him to stay, He said, "I must preach the good news of the kingdom to the other towns also, because that is why I was sent." He walked away, without guilt, because obedience is not cruelty, it is clarity. This is the season where guilt breaks and clarity reigns. You are not required to burn for those who refuse to kindle their own flame. Their crisis is not your captivity. Walk free. Spiritual infection, the divisive. Some carry poison but wear perfume. They smell holy, but their breath speaks decay. You've met them, the smiling assassins, the ones who stir up storms then pretend to pray for peace. Scripture is not silent about them. Titus 3:10 commands, "Warn a divisive person once, then a second time. After that, have nothing to do with them." That's not heartless. That's heaven's firewall. Because division spreads like wildfire in sacred places. Help the wrong voice and you amplify the serpent's whisper. You weren't called to fix what God is silencing. You were called to protect the garden of your peace. Some conflicts aren't yours to resolve. They are yours to walk away from. You are not a referee in someone else's rebellion. Silence is not weakness. It is spiritual wisdom. The drainers, vampires of the spirit. They call you at midnight. They cry when they see you leaving. They cling to your light, but never walk toward the source. At first, it felt like ministry, but now it feels like spiritual dehydration. They don't want breakthrough. They want you, not because you're the answer, but because they can feel the oil on your life. But oil is not infinite when it's poured without direction. Even Jesus withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Luke 5:16. Rest is not weakness. It is warfare. It is obedience. If you die on the altar of false rescue, you will never reach the temple of your true assignment. You're not their well. You're a vessel, and heaven is calling you to refill. The idolizers, God replacements. At first, they asked for prayer, then for advice. Then, they stopped seeking God because they had you. You became their lighthouse, their anchor, their source, and what began as support became spiritual substitution. In Acts 14, when Paul and Barnabas were mistaken for gods, they tore their clothes and cried out, "We are only human like you." They understood the danger. When people begin to need you more than God, you must withdraw, not lean in, because what looks like help to them may look like idolatry in the courts of heaven. You are a guidepost, not a god, a sign, not the source. The weight you feel isn't yours. It belongs on the altar, the willfully disobedient. You've shown them truth. You've poured out grace. But their heart is hardened, and their mouth still says, "I know what God said, but..." And with that but, they cut the cord to destiny. This is where the line is drawn, because continued help for the disobedient is agreement with their rebellion. 2 Thessalonians 3-14 says, "Take note of those who do not obey our instruction. Do not associate with them, not out of punishment, but preservation, so they may feel the weight of their own choices." Your loyalty to them is starting to look like disloyalty to God. You cannot walk in light while locking arms with someone who runs toward darkness. Let the distance become the discipline. Assignment blockers. Good, but not sent. They're not toxic. They're not rebellious. But they are not aligned. They were never part of your scroll. You just felt too kind to leave them behind. But here's the mystery. The wrong companion delays the right commission. Abram brought Lot, and it wasn't until Lot departed that the full vision was released. God said, "Leave your people." Abram said, "But I love him." And so the vision waited, until the weight walked away. This is not a season for sentiment. It is a season for precision. You don't need permission to obey God, just movement. Release what's familiar. Step into what's sacred. You thought you were being drained because you were too weak, but heaven reveals the truth. You were being drained because you were too loyal to people God never sent. You weren't tired from the battle. You were tired from holding what heaven asked you to release. This is the paradox of the chosen. Sometimes obedience looks like love, and sometimes obedience looks like letting go. You're not here by accident. You've endured what others could not. You've prayed through betrayal, discerned in confusion, and carried weights that heaven never gave you. But now the season has shifted, and the scroll over your life has reached a new chapter. You are not just called, you are commissioned. You are not just anointed, you are aligned. The silence was not rejection. It was God preparing a sacred distance so you could finally hear His voice above theirs. You have been set apart. You have been refined. And now, you are being released. Let this be your prophetic decree. You were not sent to save everyone. You were sent to obey God without delay. And the moment you release who He did not send, you will rise into what He already wrote. Comment 777 below if this word was your confirmation. If something in your spirit unlocked, testify. If a name came to mind, take it to the altar. And if your peace returned even before this video ended, you already know this was divine. Share in the comments what part of this message stirred your soul. Let your voice echo. Someone else may need the courage you just found. Subscribe to Chosen One's Sanctuary and stay aligned with this global remnant. We're not just a channel. We are a family of the forged, the hidden, the holy, and the sent. You are not alone. You are the next echo.